Oma Gyan Timirandasya Gadangada Shalakaya Chakshul Militam Jena Tasmaya Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dudantu Shva Padantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. On the occasion, auspicious occasion that we're celebrating today, actually the first people I met when I came here was the couple. They were doing a photo shoot. I'd like to share with you a very beautiful Nrsimha prayer, which is chanted in the Sri Sampradaya. Because in South India, where the Sri Sampradaya flourishes, many temples, many devotees are worshipping Nrsimhadeva. Most of the Nrsimhadeva temples are actually in South India. And in 1979, I took sannyas in Mayapur, at the big Mayapur festival. And as I was coming out of the festival, what this was called the uttari. Sannyasi wears a uttari, and he traditionally does madhukari, goes to 4 houses in the morning and begs for food. And whatever he gets at those 4 houses, that's his sustenance for the day. So I'd just taken sannyas, and I was in this fresh, bright orange cloth, I remember. And I went out to collect some dakshin from my sannyas guru, and as I walked out of the hall, the first person I met was a very dear godbrother, Mahabhuti Prabhu. He's a big devotee, by physical, also spiritually. But I put my uttari out, and he put a Nrsimhadev deity into my top piece. Lakshmi, an old ancient deity. So I thought that was nice for protection in the new ashram. So then I decided I had a break. My temple president gave me a break for 3 months. So I decided to go to South India. So I went barefoot with a little bag in those days. Took trains and buses and walked on foot and went to Ahovalam and Vishakhapatnam and all the different places I could find Nrsimhadev temples. And in that way, in many ways, Nrsimhadev became my Ishtadev. And I especially appreciated going to Sri Rangam, where Yamunacharya is the Acharya. Beautiful Nrsimhadev deities there. So I'm still in touch with the priests there after so many years, because it was in many ways it deepened my understanding of Krishna consciousness. I made many friends. And recently this priest sent me this prayer. It's a Nrsimhastakam. It means 8 prayers in glorification of Lord Nrsimhadeva. I believe it's not known to date in our movement. My dear godbrother, actually not a godbrother, but dear friend of mine and a scholar that I often discuss with, Gopinath Acharya at Oxford University. We got the proper translation from him. And literally, Nrsimha Ashtaka means, and in English we say octet to Nrsimha. Ashtakam, we're familiar with Ashtakams because we have the Sad Goswami Ashtakam, 8 prayers to the Goswamis. We have the Namashtakam, the 8 prayers to the holy name. Yamunashtakam, Shikshashtakam, like that, we have the 8 prayers. So on this auspicious occasion, I take great pleasure in giving you, or repeating this mantra, reciting this mantra for all of you. It's a tradition here at this Haldi ceremony to glorify Lord Nrsimhadeva for the protection of the couple as they take this quantum leap in their spiritual lives, working together to go back home, back to Godhead. So, just a little note. after the first 2 shlokas, right, there's 8 shlokas, after the first 2 shlokas, which actually, you'll see, describe the very ferocious nature of Nrsimhadev, the following 6 shlokas focus on his more gentle characteristics. We tend to think of Nrsimhadev as always angry. He gets angry, actually Nrsimhadev is Krishna when he gets mad. That's what Nrsimhadev, you can conceive of it like that. Nrsimhadev is Krishna's feature when he gets angry, and no one can become more angry than God. No one can do anything more than God anyway, what to speak of when he gets angry. And we tend to think of him like that, as the painting by Jadharani. He's sitting on the throne and he's ripping out the heart and the entrails, the intestines of Hiranyakashipu, and we pray to him to protect us internally from our own material desires, which are obstacles in the path of pure devotion to Radha and Krishna, and externally as we all try to cooperate in the mission of spreading Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. But he has this very sweet side as well. Maybe it's not as popular a painting, but there's that painting of Prahlad Maharaj on his lap after the whole bloody scene is done. And there's even a painting I've seen in India where Nrsimhadev's licking Prahlad out of love. Animals, they tend to lick you if they love you. So, So Ashish and Sharadiya Rasa Purnima Dasi, or they call you Shobhu or something. I only know you as Sharadiya Rasa Purnima Dasi. We're going to recite this prayer. The ferocious part, actually, worshipping the Ugra form of Nrsimhadev is generally meant only for sannyasis. Worshipping that Ugra form is mainly meant for sannyasis, because it's understood that in that form, Nrsimhadev takes everything away. So you have no other resort than to just take shelter of his lotus feet. Everything he takes. And traditionally sannyasis live a life of renunciation. So in worshipping Nrsimhadev, he speeds up their renunciation, so they have nothing left to do but to take shelter of Krishna. So worshipping that form is not so much recommended for grihastras. Worshipping Lakshmi Nrsimha is meant for householders, because Lakshmi is there, and Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune, and householders require prosperity. I was reading recently in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said that human form of life, it's not meant to be lived like animal life, in the jungle, in the forest, and ferocious, austere life. There must be some prosperity there, so we can be peaceful, to focus on Krishna in our sadhana. So therefore, traditionally, householders worship Lakshmi Nrsimha, not Lakshmi separately, because her consort's Lord Narayan. The secret is if you worship Narayan, you get Lakshmi's blessings. And in household life, there's children. Prabhupada said one time, I was in Detroit, he said, what is the use of householder life unless there's children? Bringing forth the future army of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great generals, so forth and so on. So to take care of children, you need a house, you need a kitchen, you need a playground, you need school. So Lakshmi Nrsimha can be worshipped by the householders. And Shanta Nrsimha, there's also Yoga Nrsimha or Shanta Nrsimha. Shanta means he's peaceful. He's not always roaring and ripping apart, and he has his planet. All the incarnations of the Lord, Ite Chamsa Kolo Pumsha Krishnashtu Bhagavan Swayam. All the incarnations come from Avatari, Krishna, and every one of them have their own planets in Vaikuntha. How many planets? Well, to get a little idea, Prabhupada said that there's more incarnations of the Lord than there are waves in the ocean. How many oceans are? Pacific, Atlanta, Indian, Atlantic. So there's so many incarnations. Each of them has their planet. So that's where Nrsimhadev resides. And when it was necessary in Satya Yuga, when his pure devotee, one of the great Mahajans, Prahlad Maharaj, was in distress, Nrsimhadev came just to save one devotee. We were discussing this the other day in ISV. that Nrsimhadev came to see how merciful Krishna is. Sometimes people say, how can there be God? How so much suffering? How can God be kind? Well, for his devotee, if you wake up, revive your relationship with him, as Prahlad Maharaj has done, or actually he's a Nitya Siddha, but for instruction, Lord came for one devotee. And then he killed Hiranyakashipu, immediately went back to Vaikuntha. He didn't stay around very long. Krishna, 148 years. Mahaprabhu was here 48 years. Just in a blink of the eye, Nrsimhadev came, went back. So he has his planet. And there he's very peaceful. Shanta Nrsimha. Actually, Hiranyakashipu's there because we know he got liberation from it. Nrsimhadev tore out his heart. The heart is the seat of lust, anger, and greed, and destroyed that heart. So he achieved mukti. But more than that, by the touch of the nails of the Lord, he got prema, actually. Nrsimha Purana describes that Hiranyakashipu was living on the planet of Nrsimhadev as a guard to the palace with a big mustache. So there Nrsimhadev is very peaceful. So Shanta Nrsimha is meant for brahmacharis. Why? Because brahmacharis' minds, they can't get disturbed. Vachu vegam, manasukredam, jiva vegam, upashta vegam. Brahmacharis are meant to control their senses so their mind is not agitated by the flickerings of material nature. Their minds have to be peaceful because they have to study and learn the scriptures to preach. They're mainly young men. Youth is meant for acquiring knowledge. Middle age is meant for acting on that knowledge. And old age is meant for realizing that knowledge. So brahmacharya up to 25. So they worship Shanta Nrsimha. So mind is peaceful. So when they chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, mind is not flickering, moving here and there. So in this particular ashtakam, the first two prayers are about ferocious Nrsimha. Just to get started, and the others are more in his gentle mood. The author is a great acharya in the Sri Sampradaya. He glorifies the gentle nature. So I thought that would be appropriate today. This is a pleasant, peaceful, wonderful, loving ceremony. So I thought it would be appropriate to sing this ashtakam with two prayers in the beginning, rawr, and then 6, shanti, shanti. But I was studying the Ashtaka, and before we begin, this poem has an interesting structure. The poet, he begins by requesting for him the highest goal. You'll hear, the highest goal. And then he gradually lowers his demands. First he asks for the topmost thing, but you'll see then his requests become less and less. And I looked it up. The acharyas say that he does this, quote, perhaps out of humility, considering that his first request is beyond his reach. He lowers, okay, I want this, but if I can't get that, I probably can't get it because it's beyond my reach, then please. So thus we'll analyze it a little bit here first. In verse 1, he first prays to Nrsimha for liberation. Liberation in the sense that liberation from material desires. It's called mukti. It's kind of 50% of the way. After you get freed from material desires, then you're free to awaken your spiritual desires. It's like, if you're sick, what can you do? So you get over the sickness, and then real life begins. Mukti is not the goal to get liberated. Liberated is an opportunity to begin devotional service. So in that sense, he's praying for mukti. Then in verse 2, it's going down a little bit, he only asks to become freed from suffering. Then in verse 3, he just offers obeisances, you'll hear. Then in verse 4, he prays that the Lord place his lotus feet on his head. What greater benediction could there be if the Lord places his feet on your head? And in verse 5, he prays for the Lord to remember him at the moment of death. Because death it's difficult. Birth is difficult. Disease is difficult. Old age is difficult. But death is It's the most difficult. Because the soul is being torn from this material body, where he's been for whatever, 10, 20, 100 years, torn out of his home. It's terrifying. Therefore we practice to remember Krishna at the moment of death, every day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And Sri Ramanujacharya, just because he's an acharya, it means teaches by example, he posed a question to Ranganath, who's the presiding deity in Sri Rangam. He's so big, he's lying down, and Lakshmi Devi's massaging his feet. It's such a big altar that first you go and you take darshan of his head, then you walk a few meters and you take darshan of his abdomen, then you walk a few more meters down the altar, and there's Lakshmi Devi massaging his feet. Beautiful ancient deity. It's a whole history. We don't have time. So Ramanujacharya, one day he went with his disciples and he posed a question to Ranganath. Because deities can speak. They can reply to you. At the installation of the Chota Radhakrishna deities in Los Angeles, maybe late 60s, early 70s, I don't remember, Prabhupada said at the installation, if you think these deities are brass, if you're thinking these deities are brass idols, they'll remain brass to you forever. But if you worship them according to the rules and regulations, as I'm teaching you, in devotional service, with love and with devotion, he said, one day these deities will speak to you. He told us. There's no exaggeration. To think the glories of chanting Hare Krishna is an exaggeration, it's an offense. Prabhupada said, they'll speak to you. He gave us that hope. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said one time at initiation, I see no reason why all my disciples can't go back to Godhead in one lifetime. The words of the acharyas are as good as the words of the Vedas. So we take it literally. So he asked the deity, my dear Lord, what happens if your devotee cannot remember you at the moment of death? What if you fall from a building, you're in a car accident, you're in a coma because of whatever, some disease? You practice Krishna consciousness your whole life. Actually, one of my friends is a doctor, Swami, said 80% of the people, they die in a coma. They're not awake. It's not like the movies. Tell my wife and children I love them. I'm going now. Goodbye. Oh. Well, unconscious. But so what if we're unconscious? So would you like to hear what Ranganath said to Sri Ramanujacharya? He said, it's just building up the suspense. Ranganath said to Sri Ramanujacharya, if my devotee cannot remember me at the moment of death, I will remember my devotee. Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki. And in the Ishopanishad we hear a similar prayer. Lord, please remember that all I've done for you. So in verse 5, this Narasimha Bhakta is praying, hey, help me remember you at the moment of death. Then in verses 6 and 7 he prays that he may be able to fully meditate on the Lord every moment. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. That's the ultimate maxim, ultimate verse, shloka, proverb. Vaishashika Prabhu, he's ISKCON's shloka wala number 1. But he would agree that all the knowledge, all the activity, all the prayers we're doing is to remember Krishna at every moment and never forget him. So how do you always remember someone and never forget them? If you hate them, to begin with, like Kamsa. Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Kamsa, he was Krishna conscious, fully Krishna conscious, because of the omen from the sky. He heard that the 8th child of Devaki would kill him. He was always thinking, where is he, where is he, how is that? Sending us stories every day. But Rupa Goswami says, not that type of always remember, never forgetting. That's unfavorable. Favorable Krishna consciousness. The other way you can always remember someone, never forget them, is if you love them. Isn't it? I'm sure the young couple here, they're thinking of each other constantly, day and night, in preparation for the big wedding tomorrow. That's natural. It's love. In this world, every boy wants a girl, and every girl wants a boy. But we purify it. We make it Krishna conscious by working together to go back home, back to Godhead. That's Grihastha life. And finally, in verse 8, he prays that he may simply spend his days chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So that was a warm-up, hors d'oeuvre. Now, I'm going to read to you Nrsimha Ashtakam. I don't think anyone knew there was a Nrsimha Ashtakam. Sadgoswami Ashtakam, Shiksha Ashtakam, Nama Ashtakam. So for Nrsimha Bhaktas, this is pure nectar, and that includes every single devotee in ISKCON, because Prabhupada, when he was introducing the traditional prayers we chant after every arti, he said, we're praying to Lord Nrsimhadeva for two things, specifically. He said, for the protection of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness as a whole. And because it's a society, which means it's made of people. So that, we're praying for ourselves, for other devotees, the movement to progress, etc. And he said, these prayers are especially meant to protect our Guru Jana, our spiritual masters. Because without spiritual master, what hope is there for us? So here it is, and sit properly, as Prabhupada said, and be all ears, all ears. O sustainer of Shri, means Lakshmi, pure like a billion spotless full moons, your entrancing massive mane reddens your radiance. Bestower of mercy, safeguard this soul drowning in life's great ocean. O death of the finest demon, Hiranyakashipu got a title there, the finest demon. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. You incinerate the sins of sinners, bowing at your lotus feet, and your banner bears the best of birds, Garud. You are the greatest, highest sanctuary. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha, please compassionately preserve me, eradicating the afflictions which are inherent in worldly life. Your broad chest is spattered with the fresh kumkuma-like blood of the demon king, mutilated by many sharp claws. O treasure of the scholars, Kamala's abode, obeisance to you who sit on a lotus. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. Your lotus feet adorn, as it were, the crowns of the kings of immortal gods, the hearts of the yogis, and the Vedas' highest part. O Nrsimha, Nrsimha, please place them lovingly like radiant lotuses on my own head. Actually, it's not immortal gods, it's mortal gods. Lotus-eyed Lord, when I am in my final moments, when all my senses are paralyzed by pain, please come, come. O Lord, whose shelter should be sought along with Rama, means Lakshmi, riding the Lord of birds, O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. Now we're on verse 6. May your all-embracing form, decked with the brightest golden crown, with necklace and wild flower garland, and silver girdle, with shark-shaped earrings, with the greatest of gems, appear now, please, within my mind, O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. Your eyes are moon, sun, and fire, because 3 eyes. Your mighty arm is illuminated by the greatest disk. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha, home of Rama, may my mind evermore delight in you, who delighted the celestial king. Number 8. O Madhava, Mukunda, Madhusudan, Murari, O Vamana, O Nrsimha, please be a refuge for all who bow down before you. Compassionate one, cause of all, you grant desires. O Lord of the immortals, may I thus spend my days worshipping you. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. And then as is traditional, the poets, they leave us with a blessing. One who constantly recites these 8 verses, which destroy all fear and all sin, which grants one's desires and destroys every enemy, disease, and threat. Such devotees will surely reach your ultimate abode. O Nrsimha, O Nrsimha. Bhagavan Nrsimhadeva ki, Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki, Hiranyakashipu, boo. No, he made it. It's a great example. So, who's the master of ceremonies? Should I finish here or should I go on? I just need some instruction. Where's our fearless leader? Tukaram Prabhu! Do you need more time or?
Keep going.
Pili Pokora. Who here knows what Pili Pokora is? Raise your hands. No. It's the source of the Haldi ceremony. Of course, the Haldi ceremony where we're going to rub them with all these nice turmeric and yellow liquids. It's lots of fun. Should I continue or stop?
Will you finish speaking or do you have more to say?
I finished about Nrsimha. I was going to speak about Haldi.
Sure?
It's short.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
5 minutes, yeah. Haldi. They're dressed in yellow now, but soon they're going to be dripping in yellow. So the Haldi ceremony, of course, is a traditional ceremony at these functions, these weddings, the day before the wedding. It's been going on for millions of years, but we try to see everything in perspective of Braj, because that's our Param Gatim. Vaikuntha is the official kingdom of God. It's very official. Sir, yes, sir. But in Vrindavan, it's Braj Bhakti, where it's the playground of God, where out of His causeless mercy and by the potency of Yoga Maya, everyone forgets God is God, and He forgets He's God, and they just have loving pastimes in different rasas and different mellows. So that's the origin of everything. So you could say that the Haldi ceremony started in Braj and filtered down to the Vaikuntha planets into this world, and the tradition for marriages. But what is its original source? I'll be brief. We could go on for hours with this pastime, but basically Durvasa Muni, he wanders around the world. He's a great sage. If you please him, he'll bless you. If you offend him, we say in Polish, uwaga, watch out. He can give the greatest of blessings, and he can give the strongest of curses. So when he arrived, he didn't have his 60,000 disciples in this particular pastime like he did when he was sent to the forest to give some trouble to the Pandavas. No, he came to Braj, and he was hungry. And when sadhus get hungry, there's lots of people who want to feed them, because by feeding a sadhu, when a grihastra invites a sadhu into their home, by cooking and feeding that sadhu, all sins that may have been committed in the course of life all sins are eradicated just by inviting a sadhu into your home. So Durvasa Muni is wandering around, but all the doors are closed, everybody's home, they're all farming, etc. But there's this group of young girls, Braja Gopis, and they're playing. It's very sweet pastimes. And it appears they're all worshipping one exceptionally beautiful young gopi, maybe 9 years old, 8 or 9 years old, beautiful young gopi. So in Vedic culture, girls are taught to cook at a very young age. Because when you get married, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That's not Rig Veda. To please the husband, because prasad is part of our giving and receiving prasad is part of our process. So ladies should learn Yamuna's cookbook back and forth. This was the great contribution of that great Mataji, amongst her many other sevas and qualities, was she worked for years on that cookbook. That should be the standard, not Pizza Hut. 5 kinds of pizza. No. That's Vedic culture. That's Krishna consciousness essence. That book should be glorified throughout the three worlds. So girls learn to cook. So Durvasa Muni sees young girl. He said, could you please cook something for me? So she got permission from Kirtita Sundari. Who's Kirtita Sundari? The mother of Shrimati Radharani. Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki. King Vishnu. So she said, Maya, can I cook for this? Yes, of course. Of course, there's no better cook. But how is there no better cook in the three worlds and beyond than Radharani? Because she cooked, and Durvasa Muni was so pleased with her cooking. He said, this is the best prasadam I have ever tasted. He gave her a blessing. That whatever you cook, young girl, will always be ambrosia. It'll be nectar. Can you imagine eating nectar? Just eating nectar. That's Mahaprasad. Whatever you cook will be like nectar, and whoever eats it will live a very long life. Nice blessing. Well, he went on. News spread very quickly because Sri Radhe is the most prominent personality in Vrindavan. Of course, Krishna is there, but Radharani doesn't do what Krishna says. Krishna does what Radharani says. That's the nature of their loving passion. She's the Mahabhav. She controls Krishna with her love. That's something wonderful. So the news spread that Radharani had this blessing, that whatever she cooked will taste like nectar. Whoever eats it will live a long life, almost immortal. So down the road, because here we're speaking of Varshana, where Radha lives with her family, at Nandagaon, who's there? Nanda and Yashoda. So the news spread to Mother Yasoda. There's a girl that whatever she cooks tastes like nectar, and whoever eats it will live a long time. So who's Yashoda always thinking of? Krishna. Kanai. Kanai Lal. Lala. Come here. There's one little girl I've heard, she whatever she cooks tastes like nectar, and whoever eats it lives a long time. So I want you to have the best prasadam. And I want you to live a long, mothers are. I'll never grow up, not me. They don't want their children to grow up because that special age between 5 and 10. Then the teenage years come, that's all their story. Little children are so cute. Damodar. So many of the pastimes in the month of Damodar. So Mother Yasoda said, I'm going to see Kirtini Sundari. So she went over to Varshana. She met Kirtini Sundari and King Vishnu and said, could you please have your daughter come to Nandagaon every morning and cook breakfast for my Lala? Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Just children. They're just children, there won't be anything. Just children. But little do they know that God is God even when he's 1 day old or 5 years old. He kills big demons like Putana, Trinivarta. He's always God. But he appears in that form for the playful pastimes of Damodar Leela. So every morning, Radharani would go with her girlfriends, her Sakis, and Sakis are 8 in number, but each Saki has 8 girlfriends who help her in her service. Each of those gopis has 8 servants who help them. Each of those have 8 ad infinitum. This is the spiritual world. So that all these gopis came every morning to cook for Krishna. And Radharani's cooking, looking out the window at Krishna. Krishna is there waiting at the table, looking at Radharani, some purvarag, some sweet pastimes of seeing each other before meeting, that's purvarag. Heating up, the whole mood of bhakti, love, transcendental love is coming up. And she would serve Krishna as well. And then all Krishna's cowherd boys are there as well. So after some time seeing, most adorable Krishna with beautiful Radha, although they're only like 9 years old, Mother Yasoda called Radharani to the side one morning and said, I think you'd make a perfect match for my little boy Krishna. I think you should get engaged to him. Because, Vedic culture, they engage very young. So she took some Haldi, she took some turmeric paste, and she spread it all over the hands of Sri Radha, yellow. You'll see, it won't come off tomorrow, they'll be glowing yellow because of the Haldi. And she put it on Radharani's hands, and this is a sign that a girl is engaged to a boy. Now Radharani, she's shyness personified. This was just put on her, like, what? So Mother Yasoda said, you can go home now and make a big announcement that you're engaged to my Krishna. So on the way, Radharani's like, oh, how am I going to... She's just so embarrassed. So she gets almost to Varshana. We can take you there. It's a little kund there. It's got a yellowish tint to it. It's right near the ashram of a very nice bhava there that I know. Right at the bottom of the hill of Varshana. She almost was home. When she came to that lake, she said, nope, I'm not going to go through with this. I'll be embarrassed. So she washed her hands of the turmeric, the haldi, and the whole kund turned yellow. Why are we wearing yellow today? It goes back to Braj. Everything goes back to Braj, and we want to go back to Braj. We left that place to come to this horrible world. What crazy. So she washed her hands, then she went back. And Kirti Sundari, welcome to, how was today cooking, Came back home from Nandagan to Varshana. So washing her hands like that, yellow kund, and then Krishna's wandering somewhere. That's okay. You can wander around Vrindavan because there's 60 billion holy places in Vrindavan. One of my godbrothers arrived in Vrindavan in 1972 and said, Sridhar Prabhupada, what should I do here in Vrindavan? So many things. So many 9 processes of devotional service. You can do cleaning and cooking and chanting. Prabhupada said, you just wander. So when the spiritual master gives an instruction to one disciple, general instruction, it can be taken as an instruction to others. So now when I go to Vrindavan, I just wander. I go out to the villages. If you really want to understand what is Braj, you just can't go to Loy Bazaar. You can't go to a shop. You wander. Go 20, 30, 40 kilometers. Walk through the villages. You'll never hear them say Jai Shri Krishna, like in Jaipur. Jai Shri Krishna. No, Radhe, Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Sri Radhe. That's Vrindavan. And you see them cooking for Radharani, speaking about Radharani, teaching about Radharani in the school like that. So Krishna was wandering in his own transcendental abode, enjoying his transcendental leelas and the leela stans, the places of and he came across this lake and he was tired and hot. So I said, I'll bathe in this kund. So he jumped into this kund where Radharani had washed her hands, and when he came back out, he was no longer blue. He was a golden yellow, just like we see. Golden yellow. And what did Krishna start doing? He started chanting his own sweet holy name. Krishna, 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 Krishna. And Brajbasi says, wait a minute. Usually you're chanting Radhe, Radhe. Now you're chanting Krishna, Krishna. Why? Because by bathing in that kund, he imbibed the mood of Sri Radha. And so for his blue form turned golden. And he was calling out, Krishna, Krishna, like Radha does, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And he came out, as he kept going, that mood faded, and he came back and we sang Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. So the Acharya is commenting on this. They say this is a precursor, I guess you'd say, to the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Because when Krishna came to this earth, one of his internal reasons was to experience Radharani's love for him. But here was a precursor, even at that time, 5,000 years ago. He was like that in the mood of Gauranga. Everywhere Gauranga was roaming, he was trying to imbibe this mood of Srimati Radharani. So that is Haldi. That's the original Haldi. It's nice. We go through these ceremonies. It's fun, but there's very deep meaning behind them, deep bhav. And we're like bhavini, like Radha. We want to understand what is bhav. We want to get the feeling, not to go through something mechanical, because that's natural as we advance. But we're praying to get some feeling when we chant. As Madhava Prabhu was always saying, chant from the heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare And even it may not be, pure devotion. It's something. It's calling out to Krishna like a baby. Baby attracts the mature mother by his, wah, wah. He's trying to speak. For mother, it melts the heart. So although we're not so advanced in bhakti, if we chant, Krishna hears it. And if we chant with the understanding, I want to develop the same love, that unconditional, pure love that Brajabasis have for Krishna, we can make very quick advancement. So it's important to understand Haldi. Now we understand it. We can appreciate it, where it comes from, and we want to try to attain that mood. So we'll continue with the ceremony. May Radhesham bless this couple. May Vrindavaneshwari, Shrimati Radharani, who did the first Haldi, bless them. And most important in this age, may Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give them Braja Bhakti as they proceed back home, back to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna.